Hey guys, I'm HamishTheViking. I'm a small YouTube content creator and I also stream on Twitch on Monday, Wednesdays and Fridays. So feel free to come and find me out there. Today this video is a little bit about me touching up on Hell Let Loose. I recently picked it up during the free weekend and purchased it, and I've had some thoughts. Coming from a squad and escape from Tarkov, postscriptum player, Hell Let Loose seemed to be within the right kind of genre of what I wanted to play. And I do feel like, although the game is worth it, there's some drawbacks, but there's some definite positives to the game. And here is, realistically, some of the parts I wanted to touch up on and have a discussion about. So we're gonna go ahead at the start and go with some negatives. It's a really difficult one because there are so many positives about Hell Let Loose, but I'm going to dwell on at the end because I really am enjoying the game. But some of the negatives really stand outside and they really break from the immersion for me. Going straight on, my biggest pet peeve at the moment is the sound. The game's sound is not that great at the moment, and I know they're improving it. There was a recent update, hence the free weekend, where they upgraded some of the sound, and it's definitely better from before, because I picked it up at launch and was not impressed by the game at launch personally, but I can definitely see that the devs are moving in the right direction, and the sound is getting there, don't get me wrong. Like, it's better than some of the other games I play on, but I definitely feel like it could be improved upon. The way the guns sound at the moment when you fire them and such, it's very hard, because especially like the M1 Garand and the Thompson and the MP44, I just feel like they sound like pop gun firers, especially the SMGs. And the M1 Garand just doesn't feel like it's got that kick, but makes it such a spectacular and iconic gun. You definitely hear the ding, it goes off. You know the sound I mean. But it needs a little bit of an improvement, and I'm absolutely hoping, and above all hope, that the devs will do it. And they seem to be incredibly well talented devs, so I've no doubt that we'll end up with a far better selection of sounds once the game is pushed further forward. It is work in progress, so we'll get on that. But apart from the sound, like, some of the negatives I've got are more pet peeves. In terms of items I could be wondering about. So I played on a tank today quite a bit, and what I noticed is a lot of the environments, so fences and trees and hedgerows, like, we can't get a tank over. It really breaks the immersion when you're powering through a field, pretty straight field, in a Tiger tank or a 76 Sherman, etc., and you get foiled by a 2-foot fence. Now, I understand that it's static to let the infantry jump over and such, but I do feel like the environment should have some form of small-scale destructibility. Now, it's not every single fence that you'll get stuck on. Now, we noticed that you could go through some, and some others you weren't able to. So it's just making it unique across. It would be cool in my like, from an infantry perspective, if we had an enemy tank at the other side and they just crushed over the top of a hedgerow. That shit would be immersive as heck. And I definitely would like to see that, from an infantry perspective, to view it. Not only that, but being in a tank and driving a tank and doing that, I think that would definitely be a morale kicker. So I would personally like to see a little bit more of that. Not only that, but obviously the tank crew cannot repair itself. You require an engineer to do so. And that kind of goes line in with my next negative aspect as well. That quite a lot of the squads and servers I've played with, and I'm having to personally step up to be squad leader, which is fine. I've personally got no issue doing that. But just to get comms going, and a lot of the time the opposing squads aren't communicating. And when this happens, I'm forced to leave the server and try and find another server that does communicate. So it's very difficult, especially if you're driving a tank and you get hit by a single bazooka from the front. It's entirely possible you can't move your tank. It'll get stuck, or your tank will move, but it'll be moving at such a slow speed. You're better off just leaving it where it is. I definitely think that the crewmen in the tank should have the option to repair major damage, and then you have to return to base to get it fully fixed. Simply just because relying on an engineer a lot is incredibly difficult if you've got no infantry support around. And I don't mean like soloing a Tiger or soloing a Sherman out on a different side of the map. We were playing on hill earlier on today, and we weren't able to approach Upper Mountain because we got hit by a bazooka from the opposing team, and we just couldn't get an engineer. Nobody in the infantry squads were willing to change over to an engineer to assist us. So we had to end up getting the tank purposely destroyed so we could go back. We do this just so we can get Commander to bring us in an additional tank at spawn. It's a little bit sad, a little bit upsetting, but it's just one of those things. I think there's going to be further refinement, and that also leads on to the medic class not being used too much. Now, when I squad lead, I always make sure that one of my squad's members is a medic, so we can try and get people up. But I don't feel like medics are emphasized in this game enough, unlike Postscriptum. I don't, I get they're trying to be a little bit casual, still realism, but a little bit more casual than Postscriptum. But I do feel that everybody's willing to give up far sooner than using a medic, and it would be good if the medic did get that option to just be utilized a little bit more. No one's really willing to use them, and having two mags is incredibly difficult because you can't operate as a rifleman first either. And a lot of the time, with the way the game plays, you're far more effective to be a rifleman rather than a medic. And that's just a general shame with the way the game mechanics are at the moment. It's a little bit of a pet peeve. I'd like to see medics used a little bit more. But it really depends on the server you play on and your attitude in terms of being a medic, having run as a medic for about 6 hours over the past week or so, I can see that it can definitely be used right. If you're a very communicative player, you can get guys to not give up. But I've been on top of guys in the process of reviving them, and they've given up. And just it's disheartening to play as a medic. I would like to see like the medic and the engineer class given a little bit of love, so they're useful a little bit more, in my view, anyway. And then the one last negative I want to touch up on, because this is only a kind of a quick kind of upper one, is I would really like squad leaders to be able to have rifles first and foremost, and then SMGs second, or at least pick the option to have one or the other at the start. Now, one thing I like about Hell Let Loose is you have like some progression where you can pick up different guns and different outfits. Now, I personally really like that, and that's a huge thing they've got over Postscriptum. But I do feel that as a squad leader, personally, I would far prefer to have an M1 Garand or a Springfield rifle. You know what I mean? Something rather than a Thompson at times, especially the way that a lot of the maps are. Just to give me the option to go in between at Inception. Now I'm lucky that I've leveled up enough that I can pick a rifle now, But it's something I do believe that from Inception, from picking an officer class, if you're going to do that step up, you're going to step in and lead a squad and try to get some tactics down. You should be able to pick some additional weapons out of that case, from the start. I would really personally, I'm quite biased towards bolt actions. I would love to see a Springfield. I know they were quite rare in World War II, especially for the US forces, but it still would be nice to have that option to use a Springfield, in my opinion. I don't want to dwell on the negatives anymore. I think the game's got a phenomenal aspect of really good to it. I'm going to be, really honest and pretty biased towards the game. I fucking love the art style. I think the game and the maps are incredibly immersive. They're some of the prettiest maps I have seen in a realism game, period. Absolutely just towers over Squad, towers over Postscriptum in terms of the art design. It is fucking phenomenal, and hat off to the developers. They are kicking ass in that side. I think my only issue with it is incredibly demanding. I have a 28 Ti and an i9, and I have had performance issues on the game. Now, I know they're working on this. We've seen the hotfixes, and we've seen them mention this on Steam. But it would be interesting to see this improve going forward, especially because Carentan, is a recent addition. It's such an amazing urban map to play in with a really good squad. It is just beautiful. It just suffers when you've got some artillery coming in or some explosives, and you dip below 60. It's quite difficult sometimes in terms of that. Kind of following on that, some of the guns, the way they look, fucking just beautiful. It's just a shame the sounds let them down. The community seem to be quite open to when you take over a command, take over a squad. The community have been quite welcoming, at least since the weekend has happened, to being a squad leader and really driving your squad to do stuff. I haven't had any issues with lone wolfing in the 15 or so games I've been playing, unless I've told people to do so. I've had guys now I've added on Steam and I'm playing with simply because they were really great team members, and we got along very well, and I intend to play more games going with these guys going forward simply because we operated really well together. I definitely think if you're just starting to get into realism or you want to delve into it, Hell Let Loose is a phenomenal game to try out, and it definitely opens you up to that avenue of going down to realism and squad tactics, which a lot of the mainstream titles lack. So yeah, kind of finalizing up, definitely go out, pick up Hell Let Loose, and have a fucking amazing time playing on it. Guys, thank you so much for listening. I've been Hamish the Viking, and you've been listening to me today. If you liked what I was talking about, please hit that subscribe button. Don't forget to leave a like, it does help a lot. And you can find me, once again, streaming on Twitch, www.twitchtv.com/HamishTheViking. I stream Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays, and the weekend occasionally at 7 PM UK time. Guys, have a wonderful, wonderful evening, and I'll catch you all very soon.